Hey guys, how are we doing today? It's Wally with the Merida Review blog. I hope you guys are having an amazing day. I wanted to talk to you guys about a question that comes up each and every week, no matter where it is that I am, in Merida, on the outskirts of Merida. There's always someone who asks me, how is it that I learned Spanish? Where are you from, Wally? How did you learn Spanish? People are very, very curious about that, especially when they're foreigners here, like in Merida or in the Yucatan, that speak the language very well. So that's what I wanted to talk about today, and just give you guys some pointers. I did put up a video some time ago talking about some simple suggestions, tips that you can implement. I'm going to talk about some other things that you can do to progress with the language. So if you guys are new here to this channel, again, hit the subscribe button right below. That way any future videos that I upload, you'll be sure to receive them. So just a little bit about myself, guys, before we delve into ways to really learn the language itself. I've been around Spanish, at least speaking it, for about 25 years, but I've been exposed to it since a very young age. And I say that only because my parents and grandparents, they were all polyglots. My grandmother spoke 8 languages. My parents spoke 5. Spanish was one of those languages that they spoke, and they learned it not because they were native Spanish speakers, but they learned it upon coming, to the United States. My parents, my grandparents, aunties, everybody landed in New York. Everybody goes to New York when they, come to the States. At least it appears to be that way. And so in the case of my family, they arrived in the Bronx, New York. And if you know anything about the Bronx, you know that there are tons of Puerto Ricans in South Bronx. So that's how my parents really were exposed to Spanish and learned it. And my grandmother was, a person that worked really, really hard all of her life, 2 jobs. She traveled not only to the States, but she would travel to different places like Curacao, Bonaire, Aruba, and she picked up Papiamento and some other languages. And so she was just like a traveler, and she really, really had a burning desire for cultures and languages. And so again, that just kind of trickled down, obviously with my dad, being that his mom traveled, and he instilled the very same thing in us. So that's my background in a nutshell, guys. But to be honest with you guys, I did take Spanish maybe like a semester, like in middle school and then high school. It was required. That's what we all do, right? We fulfill with the requirements to get our credits and all these things. But I really got serious about the language when I turned 18. And at 18, I did a trip to France and Spain, which gave me, more exposure to both cultures, the French and Spanish cultures itself. But upon returning, I wanted to travel to different countries. And so I went to Dominican Republic. I went to Panama a couple of times. Really, really enjoyed being in Panama. You guys know obviously I've been to Mexico a few times. Really loved it before, moving here. Been to Puerto Rico, some other places as well. And so that's what I really, really encourage you to do if you are serious about learning the language. One thing that you can do if you have the resources to do it and the time to travel. I think that is one of the fastest ways to do it. It's not the only way, but it's one of the fastest ways to gain exposure to the language itself. You can expose yourself to Spanish, again, like in Puerto Rico, because it's very different in Mexico, or Cuban Spanish, Dominican Spanish, Panamanian Spanish, wherever it is that you are. What you want to do is expose yourself as most as you can to the language itself. And not only that, but you want to speak the language itself. I think sometimes when it comes to language learning or any type of learning, even if you start like a new job, the idea is that in our minds we want to know everything before we execute, right? You guys know what I'm talking about. I think the same rule kind of goes with language learning. Some people starting out, they want to know everything from the get-go before they actually start speaking. And that's something that I think that you want to get that thought extract that thought out of your mind itself. wherever it is that you go, or wherever it is that you decide to situate yourself or settle down, you want to start using the language immediately, right? And so that's something that I did. I did start off, like when I first started, I was 18, like actively learning the language. Of course, I was exposed to it, as I said before, but like actively learning it. I decided to initially buy a language learning software. Now, the language learning software, rather, that I decided to get at the time, it was called Living Language. Living Language is available for purchase. To this day, you can find it like on Amazon. You can get it on, I think, eBay. You can get it just about in any bookstore locally, Barnes and Nobles, any of these stores that you may have locally. You can definitely find it there. Living Language was a program that I decided to use. At the time when I decided to use it, and I was 18, I think it was probably like maybe $25-$30, something like that. And it came with cassettes, right? So we're talking a long time ago, 25 years ago, on cassettes. It had a thesaurus and a phrase book that had like 40 lessons in it. And one of the things that I really loved about it, guys, is that with the 40 lessons, each of the lessons itself could be done in, I would say, in a question of maybe, say, 10 to 15 minutes. Very short, easy. There was a little bit of writing, but what I love about these programs, or at least the program that I use, is that it had audio. I think that you need some form of audio. Some people love to read, and maybe that might be your deal. It's not really my deal. I'm an audio kind of person. I like to hear, and when I hear something, I'll learn it, and it'll stick a lot faster before I actually read it. I don't really know how you learn things. Maybe you might prefer to read it. Maybe you need to hear it. You just really need to determine how is it that you learn things, and then you can go about selecting maybe 1, 2, or maybe 3 different solid methods that help you to do it. So again, language learning software is just one means of like learning Spanish or any language. It's not the only means to go about doing it. You can move to a community or a neighborhood where the language is spoken. One example, again, New York, my parents, when they arrived to the United States, they lived again in the Bronx in New York. So highly concentrated, not only with Puerto Ricans, but there are different nationalities there, Mexican, Dominicans, everybody's there. And so if you have a community that's near you where Spanish is spoken, or the language that you want, your target language that you want to learn is spoken there, what you want to do is try to associate as much as you can with people in that community. Befriend people, let them know you're learning the language. People love the idea that somebody is learning their language, right? And so I think that when you do that, what it does is it kind of helps you to stick to like your promise of learning the language. Does that make sense? Because when you pass people that you've already told or expressed the idea of learning the language, they're going to help you. They're going to start speaking to you. My goal right now is to learn the Mayan language. Here in the Yucatan, where we live at, Mayan is spoken here. There are a lot of Mayan speaking people, and so anyhow, it's one of my new adventures that I'm after right now. And so I've expressed this very same goal to these people that I've come in contact with, and friends that I know that speak the language, and they themselves have taken a keen interest in us learning it. And so that's what I think you should do, guys, is that you can use language learning software. You can take up a class, maybe locally, maybe in your local community college. You can do tutoring. You can there's so many things that you can go about doing it. There are free ways to do it. You can actually use YouTube. You're watching this video on YouTube, which is great, and you're following this channel here for the Merida Review Blog. And so when you hone into like 1 to 3 different methods that will help you to do it, you want to stick to those things, and you definitely want to implement whatever it is that you learn. You don't want to wait and think that, hey, I want to learn this, I want to learn that, you'll never stop learning with the language. There's never a day that goes by that I don't learn something new. I think since the point of like starting like 25 years ago, coming forward, I want to say that I have worked in different jobs, all of which have been bilingual in some way, shape, or form. I worked in call centers, I worked in marketing, sales, insurance. I worked in banking right before moving, to Mexico, and so all of these jobs, job opportunities that I've, worked or been exposed to, I've always been exposed to the Spanish language in some way, shape, or form. I've always learned and grew, with the language itself. And so what I'm getting at with this, guys, is that there's no one source that would teach you everything with the Spanish language or any language, be it French, Creole, Mayan, Russian, Arabic, whatever it is, the language that you want to learn. There's really no one source that'll teach you everything with the language. It's really a combination of several different methods, all of which, when you combine them together, they're going to help you to sharpen your skills over time. And so, when you start reading, you're trying to fine tune, your listening skills. Ask questions. Don't be afraid to be corrected or to ask people to correct you. Hey, am I saying this correctly? Is this the right way to say this in Spanish? Is this the right way to say this in Mayan? Is this the right way to say it? What you want to do is you want to be open, right, for that correction, right? And that's going to help you to improve with the language, guys. So what I wanted to do is to talk to you guys briefly on this channel, give you some pointers to help you to get a jump start with your language learning with Spanish. What did you guys think about this video? Let me know your thoughts right below. And if there's something else that you want me to cover on this channel, be sure to drop your comments right below. If you guys haven't done so already, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And that way future videos that I upload, you guys will be sure to receive them. Thank you so much for watching this video. Have an amazing day and much success in your endeavors of learning Spanish.